thank you for your participation in that, and we're handing over the floor to Acheron, so enjoy.
Well, welcome everyone. It's such a delight to have you here today. I'm going to begin by introducing ourselves. So we are 3 licensed mental health care providers. I know you could all be home listening to the new Taylor Swift album. I'm talking, I'm a little bit of a Swiftie. So we are Acheron Psychiatry. We are a group psychiatry practice with a brick and mortar location at 11 Broadway in the financial district. And we offer a range of comprehensive mental health care services, and our featured service is ketamine-assisted therapy, I would say.
The medicine allowed this patient I'm going to talk about to feel safe enough to go to those dark and distressing places that we often need to go to find ourselves on the other side of them. She actually came to us for a round of ketamine treatment, not the round I'm going to focus on, but she initially came with deep disassociation and numbing, which resulted in depression and anxiety. So her coping mechanism to get through life and her symptoms was to numb out. She felt disconnection from her closest relationships. She would forget things like what I did this whole day. It brought up also functionality issues. So you might imagine at work and with friends, she was just forgetting things. Large chunks of her week would go missing, and it was really no way to live. So she had heard about KAP and was interested in pursuing treatment with us. Initially, we really focused on her resistance to self-compassion and her resistance to connect to herself and her life. So trying to cut through that fog with the ketamine services. It was very successful. We had a really positive experience. She gained a lot of insight. And then last year, very tragically, she lost her father. She was having a very difficult time facing the grief, as you might imagine. She was finding that the grief was impossible to confront. So she felt the numbness coming back in greater and greater waves, leading to more intense depressions, leading to really intense self-loathing. So I'm sure a lot of us have been in that situation where we're at a low point and all we can seem to do is say, well, why didn't you do this? You should be handling this better. You should be able to move through this more. And grief can bring out that harsh inner critic in us. We decided to pursue another round of CAP to process the grief. I saw this guarded, defensive, grieving person able to open up to what I was saying and really listen beyond her defenses to ways in which her thought pattern had been holding her back and ways in which her thought pattern was keeping her stuck in patterns of grief and sadness and loss and fear. We explored her disassociation, her resistance to certain therapies. In those integration sessions, we were really able to explore her self-loathing. She went from a deep posture of resistance into resilience. During sessions, she went to that distressed and grieving place, but really saw how it was essential to move through it and to integrate that pain to make her stronger and more connected to her authentic experience. And it wasn't as scary as it had been before because she was able to embrace the pain as a part of her lived experience. Ketamine and the psychedelic treatment was able to open these kind of sacred gates to connecting to authenticity and connecting to self. We were able to clear away a lot of the negativity, a lot of the stale coping mechanisms, a lot of the things that we create prisons for ourselves with. We were able to clear that away in order to allow space for new, more adaptive, more healing behaviors and thought patterns to come in.
How does ketamine help the brain and how does it help the mind? Ketamine can help in a number of ways. It can help manage symptoms of depression and anxiety. That's kind of evidence-based, research proven. It also improves insight and emotional awareness. It has a heart-opening effect. It helps people view themselves through a compassionate lens. This consciousness expansion, that's like another way that it helps this feeling of connectedness that you might hear about with psychedelics. It kind of helps people access this transpersonal dimension of consciousness where they feel more connected to other people, to beings in general, to the world. And that can get kind of integrated. It's not just when you're on the medicine, it kind of like can transform consciousness in some interesting ways. This was mentioned by Alessandra in this case. It can help people reprocess trauma. So as you may be aware, in the treatment of PTSD, the way this was done is through having people re-experience their trauma and reprocess their trauma. And when that's done without medicine, it can help, but there's a risk of re-traumatizing people. It's really intense and there's a risk of re-traumatizing people and doing harm. When you do that work with dissociative anesthetics or like ketamine or psychedelics, there's kind of this buffering effect that allows people to kind of reprocess their trauma and integrate those memories in a healthier way where they can kind of move beyond it and be healthier. So we have what's known as a default mode network in the brain. It involves the midline brain structures, and it kind of mediates our habitual sense of self. Unfortunately, that habitual sense of self is often informed by trauma. It's more of a fight or flight, safety-seeking self. What ketamine and psychedelics can do is it actually quiets those neural networks and kind of decouples them from the deeper brain structures, the limbic region. You kind of have this just more open and relaxed perception of the world. And ketamine helps parts of the brain that don't usually connect with each other, so it can increase imagination and just help people perceive things in different ways. How safe is ketamine really? I just want to go back to that because that is, people are concerned about that. So I mentioned there's no withdrawal state with ketamine, which does limit the addiction risk. And I think the harms of ketamine really can be limited or eliminated with attention to set and setting. I think that's like the take-home point there.
I worked with a gentleman, he's a white man in his 40s, very highly educated. He has ongoing challenges with anxiety, chronic rumination, very strong intercretic. We have a lot of perfectionists in New York, a lot of people who are really driven, and so a lot of the folks who come to us have the strong intercritic, perfectionist, workaholisms, maybe some hypervigilance, even constantly scanning for things that are dangerous, out of whack, not good enough. How that showed up for him was alcohol overuse and GI issues, chronic pain with GI issues. And he had completed over 10 years of traditional talk therapy, so he had really been doing the work for a long time. One of the things he had also was family, that he brought in about family dynamics. He has a father who can be very highly critical, and my client had internalized a lot of this and had negative loops, a lot of the idea that he wasn't enough, not good enough, like more is more is more is more, it's like when is it going to stop, right? During David's first journey, I think it was his first journey, he raised his hands up and he said, a lot of people don't talk at all during the journey. Some people are very talkative, so it just really depends, and there's no right way or normal way.
It can be difficult to talk to.
It can be difficult to talk. Some people are great talkers. So during his journey, he raised his hands up, and some people it's very hard to move, but he was able to move his hands. I didn't ask him to. He did this spontaneously, and he raised his hands up, and he said, I'm seeing my father come out of the ground and growing out of the ground as a plant. And I see myself growing out of the ground with a plant. And I see us moving up, and I see the leaves coming out, and I see the flowers forming on the heads. And I see the flowers turning towards the sun, and then turning toward each other. And I could feel myself that I was separate and equal and beautiful and worthy, that my father and I were separate, but equal and beautiful, and we were both worthy. Now, since he's had this perception, this change, the dynamic has changed between his father. Like if his father gets grumpy and says something that's not nice, he doesn't pick it up. He doesn't react to it. So then actually, in fact, because he stopped reacting to his father's criticisms, his father stopped criticizing as much. So they have a much better dynamic now in relationship. It's still not perfect, but it's dramatically shifted. And he's continuing to do work, and his priorities are shifting around his values. He had, like I said, a very hard striving kind of attitude for the last several decades, and now he still works very hard, but he's able to cut back less, have a little bit more time for restorative activities, socializing, really to enjoy everything that he's accomplished in his life, and think that this is it, to be more present with his life, to have more gratitude for everything that he's done, and really to continue to develop that sense of self-worth, and it's an ongoing process, it's an unfolding process, but yeah, he's very happy and continues to do the work. So, yeah.